6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Bonjour, everybody. Welcome to the City of Lights, the beautiful Olympic city of Paris. It's just been wonderful. The weather's been beautifully hot here. I understand it's been a little bit cold back in Melbourne and even up in Queensland, where we're joined once again by we got a cast of thousands this weekend. Joining us is Mark Jones from Queensland. G'day, Mark. How are you? It's been cold up there too, hasn't it? You're still on mute.
Trick for young players, that one. Turn the mute off when talking. I once called an entire race with the mic off. I was giving gold for that race too, but no, yeah, anyway. But yeah, no, I'm regretting my shirt choice right at the moment. It is a little bit chilly up here. I mean, it's Queensland chilly, so that's not properly cold.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the other day it was it was pretty chilly as well. Also, it was actually colder than Melbourne one in the morning in some parts of Queensland. Also, in a cold part of Melbourne is Craig Doc Lanigo. Doc, how are you?
Good evening, Brett. Good evening, listeners and viewers. Great to be back. And what a huge week for an off season in between MotoGP and Grand Prix it's been, and really looking forward to catching up with our special guest tonight and hearing and getting across all the local motorsport that's happening or not happening. A little bit of in between our states, Mark. There's some stuff going on up in Sydney I saw during the week too. We'll probably get into later.
Yeah, well, there's stuff happening up in Queensland this week as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, out at Queensland Raceway with the Australian GT World Challenge and the GT4 also running. Richard Outram joining us once again. Go, Richard.
Good evening, everyone. Brett, how are you?
I'm very well, and also joining us this week, because coming up this weekend up at Winton Motor Raceway is the annual Winton Historic Festival of Speed. It's the historic meeting on the long circuit run by the VHRR, and this weekend we're going to see the historic sports sedans in action. And joining us from the historic sports sedan racer is Mark Sully. G'day, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Brett. Hello, Mark and Craig and Richard. Yes, we have 20 cars entered at Winton this weekend.
Ooh.
And we also
that's impressive.
And we also have Shepherd and Royalty, and with Brian Thompson's Mercedes, and the recreation of the Volkswagen Chef with Peter Fowler driving it.
Did you say Shepherd and Royalty? Shepherd and Royalty?
That's Shepherd and Royalty, because the two cars.
That'd be the Golden Valley Hotel, wouldn't it be, up there?
So, yeah, like that. The two cars are basically Shepherd and built, and the driver and the owner of both, and the current driver and builder of both is basically, it's all from Shepherd.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's great.
The last time I haven't seen the Mercedes in a long time. The last time I saw it, it was actually living up here in Queensland, and it was all silver.
Yes.
And I think it went over to New Zealand for a little bit after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
It went to New Zealand. It went to New Zealand and got restored back to its current livery, which is the in New Zealand, and then it got brought back to Australia.
Yeah, that's really good that it did come back, because there's been a few cars that have ended up in New Zealand. They were sort of into the historic sports sedan things a lot earlier than we were. I went to the opening of Hampton Downs many years ago, sort of around probably, I think it was about 2006 or something. I forget exactly when, but it was quite a while now. And they had some fantastic old sports sedans there, including the old PDL Mustang, and Alan Moffat's Cologne Capri is over there. I'd love to see that over here. The Jim Richards' original Sid Chrome Hillman Imp, as well as the Mustang. Hillman Imp. So they've been doing the sports sedan thing for quite some time, and it's very, very. They were very, very let's say they're a little bit more relaxed about some of the regulations over there than some people are here in the historic scene. Speaking of which, I mean, with something like Sports Sedans, has that been a problem, Mark, in terms of getting cars recognised and getting things like the Volkswagen Chev in?
Well, the Volkswagen Chev, that's actually our recreation. So that's in our recreation division of historic sports sedans. But our cut-off date for a genuine group, what they call Group U cars, is December 1985, which I'm currently going through the process of getting a Group U logbook, and things have to be right. And yeah, any changes, they go, Motorsport Australia go, no, we don't like that. Put it back to how it was.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, as I say, it's like it's like grandfather's axe with sports sedans. I mean, they basically went from one meeting to another. They were never in the same condition twice over the years. So how do you pick at what point is it frozen in time? Is it sort of pick a date, or is it how it first appeared?
Pick a year or pick a date when it was. Pick a date or a year that you liked, and you say, okay, I'm going to base the car on that year, and set it to that year, providing it's prior to December 1985, and go for the Group U logbook with that in mind. And
so tell us about some of the cars. Just tell us some of the cars we're going to see there over the weekend. Because there's 20 cars. We know the Mercedes Chev is going to be there. The ex-Brian Thompson Mercedes Chev. Yeah. We're also going to see the Volkswagen. What's your car? Tell us about your car. Tell us
my car's only going there as a static display because it's still broken from Tassie last year. The ex-Dave Hunter LC Tirana with 308 in it, which is how Dave ran it in 1977. So that's going there. And the other one, an interesting Victorian car, is Charlie Milner's HP Tirana with a 6-litre Chev in it. And Clint Smith from South Australia, he's Charger with the 340 NASCAR motor in it. And what else have we got there? We got an Anglia. We got an Anglia 13B turbo rotary, and it's reportedly the first of the super cheap Anglia. The super cheap sponsored of race cars.
Oh, I think I know that car. Yeah.
Yeah. Ex-Ray Malloy Mini is running there.
Oh, wonderful.
That's bloody quick. People laugh at it and they just go, I tried to catch that in the wet 2 years ago around Winton. I had no hope.
You lost the flippers?
And yeah, basically I was as wet as, but yeah, it was what else we got up to? Jeez, we got 23 cars. Damien Johnson.
Trenouth Jaguars? Either of the Trenouth Jaguars? No. Okay.
The Jaguars up at, I believe they're still in Queensland. And Damien Johnson in the ex-Doug Clark Holden 202 powered Celica. Now, that's a very well-known New South Wales car. And Damien's not a slow driver. Put him in anything and he's bloody quick.
Had an Aussie 4 in it, wouldn't it? Or has it got the Celica gearbox behind it still?
I don't know. I think it's got a Celica gearbox behind it. It's virtually a Formula 3000 chassis with the Celica body dropped on it.
Oh, that's
probably have the Celica 5 in it.
It does everything right. Ian Beard driving Barry Bray's old Austin A30 with the 2-litre Nissan U motor in it. And that's a lime green thing. It's a brilliant looking thing. And what have we got? Mick Monterosso's Anglia. I think Nigel Toy's driving that this weekend. That's pretty quick. That's reliable as.
You need the entry list sitting in front of you, Mark, and you can just rattle them off and give us a tidbit for each of them.
Sadly, I don't have an entry list in front of me. It's all packed away, ready to go. Everything's ready, packed in my car, ready to go this weekend. So Rod Wood.
Oh yes.
Sorry, Rod Wood. Yeah, he runs the ex-Pharisee FJ Holden. And he won the last 2 championships in the John McCormick Historic Sports Sedan Series. That team completed every round.
It's a very nice car as well. It's just beautifully turned out, that red J.
Yeah, mid-mount 202. If you're at Winton, you want to see Tony Ross's FX Chev. That is unbelievable. How he gets in and out of that car is a work of art. But that is, it looks good. It's had, with our Facebook hits, it's had the most amount of hits for Winton Festival of Speed for our category. Nick Crecchetti in another invited 57 Chev. He based that on a NASCAR period style car.
Tell us about that. Do you know anything about that? Because it doesn't seem to be a car that has an actual local history. It seems to be almost like in the spirit of, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's for the first time I'm going to physically see it will be at Winton. And that is, they built that on basically a NASCAR of its time. So back in late 50s, early 60s. But yeah, he done that very well.
Amazing.
The ex La Carrera FJ of Dave Ryan, the rally car they built to run the La Carrera Mexico Rally. That'll be there. That's another one of our invited categories. Just trying to rattle off a few more, and I can't. I'm out of bloody ideas now.
While we got some thinking music for you, what else is racing up there over the weekend as well that might?
And a lot of the tribute cars. I believe they call it the tribute of the old Group A, Group C cars. Apparently, there's that many of them that they had to put them into regularity instead of allowing them at a super sprint. That was just over subscribed. 40 something HQs.
Oh.
I've never seen. It's a long time since I've seen that many HQs.
Oh, that might eclipse some of the fields down here in Melbourne from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of open wheelers like your Formula 4s, your historic Formula Vs, Group P, Q, R, K, L, MN. There's a separate Alfa Romeos, and there is a like you're back to your regularities, which is sort of anything and everything. Mm-hmm. Which is quite an interesting group of cars.
Richard?
Mark, you're a fountain of knowledge on historic sports sedans. Do you remember an old car which ran only for a few years? It was a Renault Dauphine with a mid-mounted 202 red motor in it.
I've heard of it, but I don't. I've heard of it, but I don't know about it.
Brett?
Yes, the name was mentioned before. That's another Charlie Milner. That was another Charlie Milner car. You're talking about the HB Tirana. That was the engine out of that, I believe, went into the HB Tirana later when they got rid of the mid-engine cars after the Corvair. And I believe that you know Mark better than I, but I believe that there is actually a reproduction of the Frank Gardner Corvair being built as well.
Oh.
There is. That's being built in New South Wales.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Don't know.
As far as
the original
I know,
Corvair, I believe it fell apart from overuse. Not dissimilar to the original Volkswagen Chev.
There were bits of it ended up in Speedway briefly, and then just basically just bits and pieces, because it was obviously made illegal because it was just dominating everything. So both it and the Volkswagen and the Milner Dauphine, anything that was mid-engine. Of course, if we're looking for a tribute car, if somebody wants a project, the original and best of that sort of car, Harry Lafoe's Imp, the Hillman, the V8 Hillman Imp.
Somebody is doing one, but when and where, and that ran a Ford V8. I think it ran a Ford V8.
Yeah, it did ran a 289, and I think they might have upgraded it to a 302 towards the end of its life. But there are photos of it running with sort of two wheels in the actually wheel standing at Hume Weir. It was a crazy crazy thing. Well, let's welcome our regulars before we move on. The box is joining us as well. We've also got Paul. Yes, we'll talk about the Grand Prix in just a moment.
Yes.
Mad Cow Mark, good day to you too. We've also
got Marks everywhere.
Marks.
Yeah.
We've got Marks everywhere. Phil, I imagine Phil will be up there on the weekend taking photos. So
yeah, he does a great job of photos.
There you are. So got there, and Paul saying that you have to allow some modern safety stuff, but not enough to change the car's look or performance. So these cars, this is the beauty of the thing. They look like the cars that you saw in the day, and even though it wasn't racing last year, because as I said, it unfortunately burst into flames just as we got to Baskerville last year with the Volkswagen, but it's a very faithful reproduction. I spent a lot of time as a kid looking in and over that car over the years, and it was, boy, talk about stick your head in there and look at that old seat and the steering wheel and everything else is in there, and boy, it brought back some memories. Phil saying 50k race for Group N on Sunday, and also the HQs as well. So so lots of cars up at Winton, and I believe also it is being live streamed, so you can check that out. I'm not sure exactly where, but it is being live streamed, because I know they spoke to us. Somebody spoke to us about having an involvement, but we don't anymore. So anyway, whoever's doing it, good luck to them, and have a look at it. Have a look at it over the weekend. I'm sure it'll be on the Historic Sports Sedan and also the VHRR Facebook page. So that's coming up. So, Mark, anything else you want to tell us about the thing? Because I know your throat's going even worse than mine at the moment. So, so do you want anything else you'd like to tell us about the Historic Sports Sedan scene and anything that we might see? Now, I understand the next round after Winton will be up at Mark Jones' end of the day of the world.
At Morgan Park on the 15th to the 18th of September. And the one after that, our final round, the John McCormick Historic Sports Sedan Series final round, is 30th of November to December 1 at Sydney Motorsport Park. So we do 4 rounds in 4 states. And we try and keep it that way. We went to Tassie last year. That was pretty good.
And well spread apart, Mark, so that way it gives people the opportunity to go to them all as well too if they want to. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's where Simon Spitzer, our coordinator, Mark Stockwell, our other coordinator in Queensland.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Another Mark.
Yeah, another Mark.
Former supercart racer, Mark Stockwell.
And they set the basic. They set the calendar, and that's it. And it works very well.
Yep.
And we all just travel as a group, go and play as a group, then come back and go, shit, let's do it again.
And let's put the cars back together. Let's put them back, all the pieces, Humpty Dumpty back together
what
again.
What about, as you said, you did, you've done Baskerville, you've done Mallala a couple of times now. You've obviously going to Winton. I think you did Sandown last year. So is that the idea that?
Sandown last year was set to the week, or it was originally the week before Winton, but someone changed all the dates, and Winton and Baskerville decided to swap dates around, which caused a bit of chaos initially, but yeah, and that worked. Well, that worked. I wouldn't say well, but it could be improved next time. But Winton, everyone prefers Winton in our group. They said it's a lot more friendlier, a lot more quieter, and just a lot better atmosphere. The crowds at Winton are a lot bigger.
Yeah. So they always run a good run a good meeting up at up at Winton. So what about running? I mean, the biggest historic meeting in Australia is, of course, the Phillip Island
Phillip
Classic.
Island.
What's the situation with that? Any chance you might see these cars at the island?
Probably not. Basically, we've looked at it, and we just don't think it's fairer on the smaller cars, because the faster cars will just take off, and the smaller cars will go, well, shit, we only got 4 or 5 laps in, where you buggers got 6 or 7 laps in, and that's what we don't want to do. We just don't think it's correct.
All about the
We
lap,
just don't
though,
think it's
Mark.
right.
It's actually also, remember, it's track time you've got, so you're not necessarily getting around the track as quick as the next person, but you're still getting out there, and you're still at Phillip Island, you're still doing just as much time.
Exactly right. And the waiting,
when we
the
interviewed,
waiting list. The waiting list for Phillip Island is very much oversubscribed.
Yeah, I know that. Speaking with Peter Fowler last year, he was very certain that he would not run the Volkswagen at Phillip Island. He just said that it's very fast, it's very tricky, and he just said no. I would rather not run there. I'm happy to run other places, but perhaps not the island. So it looks like the island might be off the agenda, unfortunately. But apart from the Corvette, just before you go, is there? There's a few other cars that have been either rebuilt or sort of around.
Malala, a couple of years ago, we had. I can't think of his name. Western Australia fellow with the Fiat motor with the rotary. Fiat with the rotary in the back. Dick Ward, yeah. That was. You look at that and you just go, "That's a living museum." That was fantastic. That.
And if you want to see that car in action and anything from that, we were there and we covered that meeting. So go to the In Pit Lane bit later on. Go to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. You can see you can see the coverage that we did from there, and some of the interviews with people like Barry Bray and a few of the others that were involved over the weekend.
Normally at Malala, all 3 of Barry's cars are there. The Gazelle, Stanza, and the A30. The other one at Winton, and back to our invited category, is Warren Colley has got the ex-Peter Champion Museum HDT Beast Tirana, the replica.
Oh yes. Another
the replica.
Yeah, the replica. Once again, there's if you go to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, we've got a story. We've got an interview with Warren and a story with that as well. Also, an interview and a story with Tony Ross from last year at Sandown as well with that FJ. So there's lots of historic. Yeah, so there's lots and lots of historic sports and stuff on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. If you want to sort of check that out over the course of the weekend. As I said, we'd love to be up there and have a look. Love to see that Charlie Milner Tirana again. That was just it was one of those, the typical sports sedan. Is it started out with sort of it started out pretty like in the tradition of sort of Brock's A40, and then it had the six-cylinder Holden motor, and then I think it got a 6-cylinder supercharged Holden motor, and then it got a rotary, and then eventually ended up, as a lot of sports sedans do, it ended up with a dirty, great big V8 lump of Chev sitting alongside the driver. So that'll be great on the weekend as well.
The way that Charlie used to drive that car, you just look at him, you just go, bloody hell, he was working hard all the time. And the rebuild that has been gone into that car is unbelievable. The amount of work that's gone into the rebuild of the car.
It'd be lovely to see some of those cars together. I mean, we've also got because they've rebuilt the Gagan Monaro. That's the Craven mild Monaro. I'd love to see that out on the track again. We know that the John McCormick Charger is out there as well. That's basically in the museum.
That's in the museum in Tassie, and a few people are very peed off about that. Why is the car not going on the track? Why is it sitting in a museum?
Yeah, so there's the Peter Finn. We saw there's one car that is on the way is and Doc, we saw it when we went to Mick Webb's place, the Camaro, which has been rebuilt at Mick Webb's place, the ex-Peter Finch car. that's being and there's also an XP to Finch Monaro that's on the way. So look, historic sports sedans are really taking off, and it's fabulous to see, and it'll be great to see big fields of them. So if you're heading up this weekend, 2 days of action, or 3 days actually, free admission Friday if you're in the area.
Friday.
Yep, go there and have a look. It'll be a nice, relaxed day. There's a bit of practice, private practice, and just opportunity to without the big crowds and with no money. But if you get out there Saturday and Sunday, of course, race day, and you'll see the cars in action.
I think,
hey, Mark, thanks.
I think it's about. That's right. I think it's about $40 to get in each day.
Yeah, I think yeah. So head up there. The Winton Festival of Speed is happening this weekend as well. Historic sports sedans and a whole bunch of other, particularly touring cars in action. So if you're a touring car sedan freak, you will absolutely love the action this weekend at Winton Motor Raceway for the Festival of Speed. Hey, listen, Mark, thanks a lot for that. By all means, if you'd like to hang around for the rest of the chat, but if you want to take a Panadol and a cup of tea and a good lie down.
No, I'll hang around for a little while. Why not?
Okay, well let's talk about what happened on the weekend then with the Belgian Grand Prix. We all went to bed.
I didn't find out till next morning.
We all went to bed on
special sound effects tonight, Richard, are you? Oh,
yeah.
We all went to bed.
I do my own sound effects, yes.
Gonna change your name to
Go ahead, Brett. Don't let Dr.
We all
you and I, Richard and I always have a lot of fun with stupid stuff.
Okay, we all went to bed on Sunday morning, Monday morning. Congratulating George Russell on a fantastic drive and some very good strategy, a very brave strategy to stay on those tyres. And then, as you say, Richard, we got up in the next morning and suddenly he wasn't the winner anymore because of 1.5 kilograms, which is not unsubstantial. It's actually in the world of Formula One. I mean, it's actually a pretty big amount to be under, and it's obviously that was him disqualified, which turned it over. So Lewis Hamilton has actually won 2 Grand Prix in a row. So he'd be very happy at the moment. It moved Oscar Piastri up to second place, but it also moved Daniel Ricciardo back into the points. Hasn't helped Daniel get the Red Bull drive, however, though, at least for the moment, because Red Bull have announced that Sergio Perez is staying and will stay for the rest of the year for now.
On, Brett. Dive deeper than that.
Shoot yourself in the foot.
I want to talk about the whole meeting.
Who said that?
Who cares about the Grand Prix race on the weekend? I want to talk about the meeting they had.
On Monday.
On Monday morning on the helicopter.
No, so it was Christian. This is well publicised now. It's happened. Christian, Marco, and Liberty Media, and a few other people, including the FIA, have rumoured to have been sitting in on it, and they've sat down and discussed who's sitting in what seat for the rest of the year, and also the prospects for next year. And Helmut's gone on record, and he's been quoted in the media in the last day or two on what the meeting was about and what positions are going who, where, and well. So have a look. It's been well documented. So it looks like, according to Helmut anyway, and the result from the media, that Daniel will be staying put for the rest of the year. There won't be he won't be getting out after a certain race or before or after or based on performance. Also, Sergio will be staying put. But then everyone's started a whole lot of new rumours. Oh, no, he's not. Helmut's not speaking the truth. So they're staying put. Liam will be, he'll be in a seat next year, guaranteed, Helmut has said. He didn't say which one. And he did indicate that Daniel might be taking Sergio's spot next year. However, the controversy that's going along with it is that the Liberty Media who were sitting in the meeting and did have a lot to say, whoever representative was, and I can't remember if there was a name to it or not, that they want Sergio still in that Red Bull seat for the rest of the year, no matter what, barring any performance because it will affect the Mexican Grand Prix.
Mexican
And they
Grand
want,
Prix, yeah, there will be a huge. If he was pushed out, he's massively popular, of course, in his home country, and there would be a major
I don't want to revolt.
backlash.
No,
Yeah,
they don't
there
want
would
the
be a
revolt.
major backlash if he was suddenly removed from the team. It's
Yeah.
it's one of the more successful Grands Prix that they have in terms of commercial, the number of people who turn up and the amount of money that goes into it. So I can
Now,
imagine.
also, the controversial part as well, though, too, is the other investors that are in with Red Bull, whether they were there or not. And the controversial part is also the FIA, whether they were sitting in it and what opinion they had on being obviously, and it's Red Bull's a team. It's FIA is the governing body above it. So there's a lot of rubbish going on. It is. And before we go too much, further, as my thing says, I did see a picture of George sitting against the wall, a little bit inconsolable. Forlorn. Good point, Richard. That's unusual for you and I to have a joke or something. You and I, but we do feel sorry for him. But look, I'd like to see if anyone follows Ruth Buscombe. She does a lot with Sky Sports and Formula One these days, and she's an ex-Ferrari strategist and has been as part of her adult life of that, and she does some stuff. She was doing the numbers on Piastri's win the week before on based on the performance of Lando and its lap times and blah, 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 blah. And this is only hypothetical, and this is only mathematically that Lando would have won that race by 3 laps or whatever, give or take a few seconds or whatever it was for that week before. I'm actually looking forward to see if she does any calculations this week on.
That seems ridiculous. But nobody's winning a Formula One race by 3 laps. If somebody has
no, he would have caught Oscar based on their lap time by 3 laps. Sorry, but that doesn't count lap traffic, other people pitting, going around the circuit, having a runoff, all the different other things that was just based on straight out mathematics on the average.
And as has been said, as many times before, catching is one thing, passing is another. As we've seen, sort of regular, as we saw on the weekend with Lewis trying to catch up, and also Max trying to get past Lewis. At some stage, it wasn't easy, but it's an interesting move that they've made. But it's also interesting the fact that that if Liberty Media were in that. Liberty Media were in that meeting, then they really shouldn't be in that meeting, because that's right. That really gets into the realm of the WWE. It's like we're going to manipulate this. Well, no, not really, but but it just shows that obviously the other interesting thing is that there is now a rumor of a new American Formula One bid, which actually does have which will have the support of all of the teams. They, for whatever reason, they do not want Andretti. They just do. They're just saying no. It's not going to happen. We want a Formula One team from America, but I don't know what they've done. But yeah, they're not.
Okay, I'll just throw in one. My name's Yuki Tsunoda, and no one can see me. I know I'm Asian and I'm small, but I walk into the room and they all talk about me without ever looking at me.
Well, that's the problem. Apparently the team have just said that it's his attitude that they're not keen about it. If it wasn't for Honda, he wouldn't be running there.
Because Helmer has said resulting in that meeting as well, though, too, is that Daniel will be replacing. So Sergio is gone at the end of the year. He's staying in the seat to the end of the year. He's gone next year, because this is come up from this meeting. And Helmut's, you know how outspoken he can be, and he's been quoted. Sergio's gone, but he's staying for the year. Despite Helmer not liking it, but Christian's going to get his way, and Daniel will be. Funny enough, the merry-go-round's gone around a full circle once. It took so long to go around, but he will be back in the seat next to Max. And of course, we all know that the Mercedes is Toto is banging on Max's door and asking to still come and join him every 5 minutes when he's not sim racing, of course. And that Yuki will keep his spot, and Liam will jump in Daniel's spot. So Helmut's got it all worked out.
Oh, Helmut's talking through.
It's like musical chairs.
Yeah, very quick musical
Well,
chairs.
frequently
But,
is.
Yes.
But who at the start of last year would have predicted that McLaren, 18 months later, would be 1-2 in a bloody race and probably favourite for the next one?
yeah, as Bob's turning out, sort of, lots of Mexicans cross the border particularly to the Austin Grand Prix. I mean, at one stage, for the first few US Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas, the audience, the crowd there was overwhelmingly Mexican and Latin American. There was, it was it's changed a bit now. But of course, that's going to be the next thing. I mean, depending on what happens for next year, I mean, will the Mexicans get across the border?
I was going to say that. Without being shot.
Well, Don will be there with the gun.
No, the fresh polls that came out today has now got Kamala in front. So, that's the fresh polls that will come out today.
The Americans will dump a crook? Oh, I can't see that happening.
Okay, so
one of the things they said about the Belgian Grand Prix, just to backtrack a moment, was with the one of the reasons that they're citing that George Russell's car was underweight was because Spa is such a long circuit, they brought the car straight back through the pits the other way. They didn't do the lap of honour, otherwise known as run over every single piece of discarded rubber you can find to make your car heavier. Pick up. So
didn't make two pit stops, wore the tyres down to the knuckles, and then don't make any pickup.
Richard, I thought you were going to go on somewhere.
No,
so so the theory then was that they didn't pick up enough, didn't pick up any rubber because it just came back through the pits. So 7 kilometres of driving over the rubbish to build the tyres back up to size. Might that have made up 1.5 kilos? And
it's Mercedes' fault to run the car underweight in the first place. Having to rely. It's straight out.
Well, this is the problem. I mean, the limit. They go to the limit. I mean, there's no margin for error there. If they've got they'll run it to the gram. And as Mark was saying with the pickup of the rubber, they always say, make sure you pick up. And that's the reason why they do it. Is they want to pick up as much weight as they can to give them that margin. Whether it would be enough to get 1.5 kilos is another thing. That's an awful lot of rubber to pick up, but it would certainly help.
George should have entered the hot dog eating contest before the start of the race and scoffed a few there. That could have helped.
Well, if he used the bathroom before the race started, there's a regret there. And mind you, of course, that 1.5 kilos is, probably a significant portion of that could have been the amount of water weight he loses during the race. Although I suppose that then gets absorbed by the race suit, doesn't it? So that's not really.
It does. Yeah, exactly. So put some sauce on it.
Yeah, but
isn't that the idea? Build a race car super light. Isn't that the idea of a race car? Build it super light, then add weight.
It's your fault, Richard. You started me tonight.
Yeah. And that's been one of the
sports event racing.
That's been one of the successes of. That's been one of the successes of Red Bull, is that they've had a car where they can put the
they can add lightness
in, and they can just they can get the weight where they want it, rather than something like the Alpine, which was very overweight. They really couldn't do much at all. And there's another, talking about lightweight cars, another sports sedan that's floating around somewhere that I've seen back in action. Unfortunately, haven't seen it with you guys, Mark. Is Frank Yu's Tirana XU1 from New South Wales, which is a work of art. If you want to see how to save weight in a sedan, if you get the opportunity to see Frank Yu's Tirana GTR XU1, powered by a I think it was a Rover engine, so an alloy engine.
V8.
Alloy V8. Absolutely, and even to the point where he, for non-structural bolts, he basically replaced all the bolts.
He drilled them out.
Yeah, he drilled them out. He just got there and he drilled the inside of the bolts out in order to save weight. If you get the opportunity to have a look at it, it is a fascinating car.
There's a good segue. So if Tutto Wolff are available for as a team principal on how to build a car, you can go in that direction. However, we must, without remiss, because obviously you did a big post of it a couple of days ago, Brett. Congratulations to James Vowles for getting his man as well too, who happens to have been one of the technicians that was under Toto for many years and is an ex-Mercedes engineer. So congratulations to that. And get on board. I think they'll be a formidable team next year. The interesting thing about
that, though, is that the contract that they've signed has an out clause, which effectively says if a drive comes up at Mercedes and or Red Bull, he can apparently leave. He can get out of that contract. So that's interesting, because I would imagine, to be honest with you, I mean, if I've got the choice, if I'm going to make the choice, if I want to get someone experienced, and I've got the choice between Danny Ric and Carlos Sainz, I'm probably picking Carlos at the moment, just based on his form.
I reckon they'll only grab him if Max goes. I don't think they'd use him to replace Mr. Ricardo. I reckon if Max decides to jump to one of those alleged teams that you just mentioned, I reckon they grab him to put him in the Red Bull seat, and you wouldn't blame him or them.
But I wouldn't imagine though they'll put the hard word on Carlos to ask him, have you got any more organs you can remove to decrease your weight?
That's a bit harsh. That's going
well, it certainly worked for him at the start of the year.
Stuff.
You're a cruel man, Mark. Yeah.
But I put Daniel in because he sells stuff, and we're not in the business. Not only in the business of racing cars, we're in the business of selling crap,
selling red wine.
Yeah, or whatever.
He also has the particular, and the reason that Christian is so very keen about it is that, one, he's got that experience. He's not going to do anything silly. But as everyone said when he was with McLaren and with all of the teams he's been with so far, all the engineers say apparently he gives really, really good feedback. And that's one thing that Christian says about him, is that, he's made a substantial improvement to the car when he gets behind the wheel, and he can pass on to them exactly what's wrong with the car in a way that the engineers really appreciate. So but the other problem that they've got is they've got Hajar, or what is his name, in Formula 2, who's another Red Bull driver, they're talking about Oliver Behrman and Antonelli and all the rest of it. Hajar is on top of the champion. Looks like he's going to win the championship, and he's driving brilliantly. So what are they going to do with him?
Well, the feedback, or what was being leaked out through the last few races, is that as good as Hadjar has been in the Formula 2 Championship this year, he's actually been a bit underwhelming in the Formula 1 cars when they put him on board. So,
what's he been going out with? What's he been going out? The Alpine or the Haas or something, wasn't it? Yeah. What's he been testing in? Yeah, I know. I think I saw him. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, it's fallen out of my head now.
Yeah.
Did you see Hadjar? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, did you see Hadjar in the tunnel at Monaco when someone would stop? He was howling up, and in the last second he sees it, and twitch was just the reaction time was just blinding. I would have just piled straight through it. Nope. Steered right around. It was incredible reaction time.
Yeah, it was great.
Saw it,
great stuff.
Yeah,
it was.
One thing I'm imagining, this is something that Mark would be very much in favour of, is that Daniel should come back to Australia and race his dad's Alfetta. That would be just about.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And the Ricciardello Alfetta Mark 1.
He'll get around to it one day.
Yeah,
he's a bit time poor at the moment.
Sadly, that car's had too many modifications to bring it up to current specifications. And there's a few guys that run national and state sports and would like to run historics, but their cars are just like the Alfetta. these cars have just been brought up to the current specs and just gone, no, can't do it.
Well, Mike Roddy has the sister car to the Unipark Jaguar, and my God, that has been totally changed. That's if he ever gets it on the track, but he keeps on saying he will. But
how many years has he been saying that he will, Richard?
Well, his son started out nowhere, and now is one of the biggest bestoked sports car builders in the world, and yeah, so it's got to be in a while.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think we'll see Geordie out in the Cadillac before we see him out in the Jaguar Sports sedan. Unfortunately,
I can't wait till that happens.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to happen as well. But yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's there's so much interesting sort of happening with the sports now. I really would love if somebody could organise, whether it happens at Phillip Island or Sandown would be Sandown next year. If they get it Sandown next year would be the ideal place to do it, to try and get some of those New Zealand sports sedans out, historic sports sedans out here as well, to see some of those cars out on including Jim Richards' Mustang that's apparently been rebuilt. I also heard, Mark, that somebody was talking about either rebuilding or doing a replica of Jim's Falcon.
That's been on the cards for a long time, and no one's sort of come up with anything as yet. But yeah, that thing would be very interesting. How lightweight it was, and how thin those panels were.
Yeah, and how strangely shaped they were. I hadn't seen the front of an XC or an XC Falcon looking looking quite the same. If you have a look at it in profile, it's a very strange looking shape for an XC Falcon at the front. The nose is very interesting.
And yeah, very.
Would you?
And Tony Hubbard ended up with that car at one stage.
Yeah,
that's right.
And and he did crash it at Winton, and I will see Tony on the weekend. I must ask him where it is. But
yeah, it'd be
whether it's still around.
Interesting to find out. Yeah, because it was a very famous car, of course, the old Big M Falcon that ran around. Of course, Bob Jane's Monaro has now been returned to improve production specs, as it was when he raced in the Australian Touring Car Championship. So it's not around. And John Shepherd was going to. And John Shepherd was going to.
John was going to replica of the LC Tirana.
The Tirana, yeah.
That has been John's. Yeah, John stopped doing that. He got quite sick, and that has been sold off. So don't know where the car is, but
yeah, hopefully whoever's got it will. Will finish that project. It'd be wonderful. I don't know what. Do you know what sort of era that John was looking to? It was going back to the Repco, the 4.4 Repco, or was it going to go back to the 4.4
Repco?
Oh, wow. Was going to, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, 4.4 Repco. John was absolutely disgusted when Frank Gardner got to it and took the engine out and then changed everything.
Stuck a great big 6-litre Chev. Or I think it was a 5-litre Chev.
And absolutely, this thing was just not where it was. John Harvey drove it at one stage, and he said to John Shepherd, "Hold some rubber engine mounts in it. This thing's vibrating. My eyes are bouncing because it had a flat plane crank in it." And John said, "Yeah." Shepherd said, "Yeah, bullshit." He was leaning against the bumper bars, and he felt this vibration. And then they put rubber engine mounts in it. Problem solved.
I think with the Big M Falcon, I thought I heard at one point that it was a significant donor to Tony's subsequent Commodore.
I must ask him that, because I know Robin Doherty had the Commodore at one stage.
Yeah.
And I think Robin had the Falcon at one stage. But I will see Tony on the weekend.
Well, Tony also had a Calibra sports sedan as well, so he's had a few things over the years.
And he's also rebuilding his hatchback Alex Tirana historic sports sedan. That I can tell you, because he brought a body shell off me and some other bits and pieces. So yeah, he's rebuilding that.
Awesome.
Do we know what?
So he needed some bits out of the body shell.
Any word around as what happened?
He needed some bits out of the body shell.
Yeah. Anybody know what happened to Bob Gill's? To a lot of Bob Gill's stuff.
Mustang. Yeah.
Well, the Mustang has been turned back to the original Gagan specifications, and I think that was a Bowden thing. But but Bob had, I mean, we went out and we saw his collection, and I know that he still had a lot of cars over just across the road for a long time, and there was he had a Trans Am Mustang. I don't know. There was the last time I saw him, he still had the ex David Robertson Capri, but someone said that had gone down to Tasmania.
Yeah, don't know. I don't know where this car. A lot of everything went to auction.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm just wondering who sort of bought a lot of the Lola. I know the Lola,
Lola.
Yeah, that was very. Because we did the story. Because Bob was going to the Lola 610. The sister car.
The Terry Hook car.
No, it's actually the sister. It was actually the sister car to it. There was only a few ever made, and two of them ended up in Australia. The one Terry Hook's car, which with the Chev, and the car that Bob had. And Bob was going to, and we did the story of it and put it online because Bob had this idea of wanting to turn it into a road car.
Yes.
And as soon as we did the story on it, my God, the hate mail that poured in from overseas, saying,
really?
"There's only what is this psychopath doing?" This is such.
I think there is 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 of them ended up in Australia. And Bob had the one. So I know that it was.
I think the Terry Hook. I think the Terry Hook car. Now I'm remembering went to the Harburgs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably would too. Yeah, so Peter's got such an amazing collection. I mean, we saw his to the 250 LM. We did the interview with him at Phillip Island this year. Once again, if you go onto if you're on the YouTube channel, you want to have a look at the Peter Harburg's 250 LM Ferrari and an interview with Peter. We have that there as well. Oh. Yeah, as Mark said. It was Ricciardello is driving the car. And it was Barbagallo. Barbagallo owned it, but Joe did
Ricciardello.
have an
The Ricciardello family sold it to Joe Ricardo. This is the car that was raced by Brian Smith. And before, like the current Alfetta GTV is not the original.
No,
like Tony Ricciardello car is not the original. No, the original was owned by Tony's father, Basil, isn't it? And and when the second car was being completed, like there was an extraordinarily brief period where the 2 cars ran together, and the Ricciardello, the original Alfetta then was sold to Joe Ricardo, and Daniel grew up looking at that thing in his dad's garage at the back. So you can see where the motivation to become a racing driver may have come from.
Well, Joe also had for a while the ex-Alan Hamilton and Alfredo Costanzo McLaren as well.
Yeah, Chris Clarahan in Canberra's got an Alpha Chev as well.
Yeah,
that's the Tony Edmondson car. Yeah, the old Ansett Elton, which I imagine the second Alfetta, because of course the first Edmondson Alfetta was destroyed in that monster accident at Surfers Paradise in 1980.
Yeah, he was
After
lucky.
it was
He was lucky to get
rebuilt,
away from that.
it could. He also crashed at Sandown going across the top again, and that's when I think the next car came out. A new car was built.
Yeah, so the
And
clearer hand,
presumably also
car
when they
is
went from the Repco Holden motor to the Chev.
the Chev.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah, which a lot of people did because the Repco became sort of a bit hard to get parts for and wasn't as competitive as when they upped the regulations because the old regulations were that if it was an engine swap, it had to remain at 5 litres, whereas if it had an engine that larger than 5 litres originally, you could keep that engine, and that's why there was a bit of jiggery pokery with the Gagan Monaro because they wanted to run it as an HZ, and the HZ at the time didn't have the 350; it only had the 308. So they sort of they turned it into for a while there. They turned it into an HQ. Or an HJ, and then
HJ,
it was,
I think.
yeah. So, but it's now back to its HZ original, and it looks fantastic. It's a gorgeous car. And I'd love to.
That was rebuilt in Australia.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd love to
That
see
car
that
was
out
rebuilt
on
in
the track
South
as well.
Australia.
Yeah. Okay, so that's coming up. We're back onto sports now. We can talk sports sedans, or I can talk sports sedans forever.
This sounds all night.
Yeah, that's it. So they're coming up this weekend. Doc, before we move on, we're at the end. Any MotoGP news?
No, not really. They're still on the break, and but it is coming up this weekend, of course. Did you put in the ticker down the bottom there that I think it's 75 years, Silver Star?
Yeah, retro round. They're going to. In fact, tomorrow, I think on the MotoGP YouTube channel, sometime tomorrow, they're going to unveil a lot of the bikes are going to have retro liveries for the weekend.
They are.
The other news that's coming out at the moment is it's looking almost certain now that Jack Miller is going to end up in World Superbikes with Ducati and not with MotoGP. Right. That's the story that everybody's running right now. Is basically that there's no room at the inn for Jack, unfortunately, in MotoGP, and he'll probably end up.
Well, I wonder if it'll have some cat sponsorship as well too. You never know because cat are not just in Australia, around the world. So that'll be interesting, but definitely. But then there's no surprise there. But it's been a bit quiet this week, I suppose, when it comes to MotoGP. And we'll do a roundup next weekend. It'll be good to. I might even try and get a backdrop with one of the retro bikes that looks it's the most folks. There you go.
Okay, everybody. I think that will kill us off because we're right on the hour mark. So let's move out. Mark Sully, thanks for joining us. Good luck on the weekend,
guys.
Hope everyone goes well, and we'll see you. We'll see it on. It's apparently going to be seen on the V8 Sleuth YouTube channel. So
A1 Media, Aaron Noonan.
Yeah,
right. A1 Media, Aaron Noonan.
AN1.
AN1. Yeah. Okay, so they're going to run that on the weekend. So if you want to have a look at the sports sedans and everything else that's in action on the weekend. Now, also, just quickly, Mark, are you heading out to Queensland Raceway for the weekend?
I very much am.
One last quick thing. Sydney International Raceway. Did everyone see the sad news of that this week?
What are we talking about now?
Speedway, what you thought was just out of the woods in New South Wales, is back in the mud again. It looks like that every round will be cancelled for the rest of the year when it comes to Speedway. Big controversy, blah blah blah. It's all happening. We won't dive into it. Yeah, we won't dive into it.
Yeah, it's a massive political thing up there. It was basically some smart-ass politician who literally said, "Hey, how hard can it be?" He literally said, "Get a grader, drive it round in circles, put in some grandstands, you're done." That's pretty much what they did, and now they've got an absolute multi-million-dollar white elephant on their hands there that may never get properly raced on, or is going to cost an absolute fortune to make right. We might try and get somebody. We had Ben last. We're talking about sprint cars and speedway. Might try and get someone on from the guy who does from us. Have a look at the Sprint Car Hub YouTube
Yes.
channel. They go into
That was a
into
good article this week from them.
very minute detail in terms of what the hell's happening. Gary Wilmington's involved in it now, and that's once again, it's somebody who's not a speedway person. It's like, I know it's all motor racing and all the rest of it, but there are things. It's like getting sort of circuit racing people to run drag racing or drag racing people to run rallying. There are different disciplines.
Oh,
and it
did
never
you
works.
see did you see the ex-corrupt politicians that's now being appointed as well too?
Yeah, that's another
They never
one.
go away, do they?
Yeah, John Barilaro has been appointed to the board of motorcycling, motorcycling in New South Wales.
Yeah, sorry, that was my
one
MotoGP report this week. It wasn't that; was actually Australian. Yeah, so
we've already gone.
Yeah, wrap it up.
2 is over, so let's wrap it up, everybody. We'll see you.
Race Queensland this weekend.
Race Queensland GT that'll be seen on. I think it's 7+, isn't it? I think I'm pretty sure it's on 7+. A big weekend of GT racing out there. It's going to
and TCRs, Trans Am, Porsche Sprint Challenge, Formula Open.
Yep. So
Toyota 86 Scholarship Series.
Yeah, it's a huge meeting. We might talk about that because it actually starts on Sunday at about 7:30 a.m. and there's a lot of very, very unhappy officials, as there should be, with that involved. So, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure I can put that up, Mark. I probably can because I think there was actually a conviction, but I won't anyway, just in case. But anyway, so thanks everybody. We'll see you if you want to know more about John Barilaro. Friendly Geordies. Okay, everyone.
Plenty of information.
Right. Have a great race weekend, everyone, wherever you are.
Have fun.
Yep. See you later, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.